What a win for the Pacers in Minnesota. Very shorthanded. They get even more shorthanded during the game. A miraculous Obi Toppin run, some crazy clutch shots, some good enough play from everybody. Gets it done. A huge win for the Pacers. We'll talk about it all today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, oh, wow. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what words to say. I think I'll start with how. Wow. What? Pacers win in Minnesota. They did not have Pascal Siakam. They did not have Tyrese Haliburton. They did not have Aaron Nesmith. They did not have Myles Turner. They did not have Johnny Furphy. Andrew Nembhard got ejected. Bennedict Mathurin fouled out, and they won. They won the game. This is the same bench group that everybody's been roasting deservedly for 2 games in the last 10 days before this that were lost because the bench was so bad, and they get it done. Wow. What a game for the Pacers. One of their most improbable wins I can remember from them in recent years. Up there, probably second to it, but right up there with the Kiefer Sykes, Torrey Craig, Justin Holiday, Goga Bitadze group that won in Golden State 4 years ago. What a win by the Pacers. And the reason this one maybe stands out or feels a little different than that one where Steph was going crazy is they made play after play in clutch big moments. And a lot of that was making threes that were very important, but it was a remarkable, remarkable game for the Pacers. And I want to start in overtime, and I also kind of want to set the scene. You kind of have to set the scene first, but like deservedly so. The chatter before the game was about the Pacers kind of punting it, right? No Siakam for personal reasons already. Going into the day, questionable Nesmith, questionable Haliburton, questionable Turner, Furphy's sick, right? They're missing guys. And if it's a 3rd and 4 nights already, and the Pacers have a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday, meaning it's also the start of a 3rd and 4 nights, 11 and 15 coming at home. If you're already missing Siakam, I'm not saying you should ever punt a game in a seeding race, but if you have a lot of guys with nagging injuries, this would be the game to theoretically think about doing something like that. Give your guys extra chances to recover in between back-to-backs. So I wouldn't have done it. I guess I don't know what they did or didn't do. But regardless, they had lots of guys out, and they lost 2 guys who were playing well at different times during the game. Nembhard was playing very well, like being more point guardy, for lack of a better term, than normal. His passing was sharp. He was making his shots in the mid-range, playing good defense, right? They needed him with Ant over there. Ben Mathurin, who wasn't making his 2s, but was making his 3s and was getting to the line, had 22 points. Those 2 both had to leave the game early for different reasons. The scene was set for a disaster for the Pacers. They really had 7 players you'd consider like night in, night out NBA talent when the game started. And that's Nembhard and Mathurin, Walker, Toppin, Bryant, McConnell, and Shepard. And 2 of them didn't finish the game. Quentin Jackson, Enrique Freeman, Tony Bradley, Ray J. Dennis, and James Johnson also available. The latter of 2 who did not play. That's the team the Pacers had available for this game, and they won. And I have to start now talking about the game with the end because Obi Toppin just went crazy. What an ending for Toppin, who had the crazy game in Washington last month that felt like, wow, look, this hot Obi Toppin moment just saved them in an overtime win. He outdid himself in the exact same situation. Obi Toppin averages per game, per every game he plays, about 10 points a game. Under 10 points a game entering today. It's now above that. He, per 36 minutes, averages less than 19 points. In this game, in the overtime alone, he scored 12 points. More than he averages per game. And he didn't even do it across the whole frame. He did it in under 3 minutes. It was an insane heater at the perfect time. And the reason that talking about this game is so fascinating is, in a vacuum, if I described all the plays Toppin made, it would be fun to run through and explain how the Pacers won in overtime. and how Obi Toppin did this. And I'm going to do that. But if you didn't watch it, you need to know this. And if you did watch it, I think you need to be reminded how many times it crossed a viewer's mind, oh, it's over, right? The Wolves had several moments, including a 10-0 run to start the fourth, where it felt like they got it. They got the win. And most people, I would say, watching who either cover in my case or Dustin's case since he was there, whoever, any other podcaster or people who cover it, probably thought, all right, well, good fight. They played well. Like most people will be happy with that performance, even in a loss. Like no one would be defeated in that moment. But every time that happened, they responded in this crazy way. And it made the game so fun, right? Such a fun basketball game. So overtime, they get to it thanks to a great McConnell shot, which we'll get to. And overtime, does it go their way to start? Ant gets fouled. Randall gets fouled. I almost said the Warriors. The Timberwolves are up 4, and the Pacers didn't score for the first 2 minutes of overtime, right? Running low on steam. The Wolves played the night before, but the Pacers needed something. Insert Obi Toppin. 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go on a whipper from Ben Shepherd. Hits a 3. It's a 1-point game. And then Ant instantly responds, right? One of those just like, oh, man, this is going to be tough. Like, especially because the last time the Pacers saw Ant, he went crazy in clutch time and had that insane block on Aaron Nesmith, right? It's what he does. So after that Ant shot, another moment where it felt deflating for the Pacers, Obi Toppin says, no matter. Ben Shepherd's going to get me the ball again on the right wing, and I'm going to drill another 3. Tied the game with 2 minutes and 25 seconds to go. Toppin had 28 at the time. A backbreaker. On the other end, Mike Conley hits a 3. And this 3 from Mike Conley, right wing, he banked it at the buzzer of the shot clock. This 3 was so off that Quinn Buckner, God love him, the second it came out of Conley's hands, he said, brick. And it was so far to the right. It hit way up high on the right side of the backboard and banked right in. It kind of whirled through the rim. And then it was way off and it went in. And another moment where it's like, man, the Pacers fought, but like if that shot's going in, they don't have it tonight. Alas, obviously you can tell by the way I've talked about the game, my tone of voice, they did, in fact, come back. They get some key stops, even though they themselves did not score. I think their next trip, they get a key stop. Anthony Edwards gets fouled. Thomas Bryant finally gets a 3 to go with a minute to go, and they get one more stop. So the Pacers now have the ball down 2 in the final minute. And again, it's Obi Toppin at the top of the key, running fast from the right wing to the top of the key with a dribble in between. McConnell flipped it to him. He took another 3 after hitting his last 2 and banked it in. The basketball gods smiled back on the Pacers. They saw the Mike Conley shot. They said, that's not fair. You get one. Here you go, Obi Toppin. It banks in, and the Pacers are now winning. And Obi Toppin has 9 points in the overtime. Anthony Edwards draws a foul on the next trip. He hit them both. Like, the Wolves go up 1 with 19 seconds to go. Again, if that had ended the game, most people who watched it, most fans of the Pacers would have been like, that sucks. It's lame that they didn't have everybody. But good effort from the guys available. Again, do not give up on Obi Toppin. TJ McConnell dribbles around, gets into the paint, sees Toppin moving to the left corner. When have we seen a Pacers buzzer beater from the left corner ever before? 6 days ago. Toppin catches in the left corner, lets a tough 3 fly, and buried it. His 4th 3 of overtime for 12 overtime points. They came, yes, in a 5-minute period. They all came in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. The Wolves go to Randall. Thomas Bryant bodies him up. Very good defense from Thomas Bryant. Randall just short. Pacers win. Ridiculous overtime from Obi Toppin. He hit 7 threes in this game. That is a career high for Obi Toppin, who transformed his shot last year. It has not been nearly the same this year. But he hit 6 threes in a game earlier this season. He had 6 threes in a game with the Knicks in 2021-22. He had never gotten to 7. The 7 happened today. The 6, by the way, was the aforementioned Wizards game when he had 31 and 10 in a key overtime win. This time he had 34 and 10 in a key overtime win. So a season high and career high in threes made. 34 is his Pacers high for scoring. He scored 42 once with the Knicks against a not really very much trying Raptors team 4 seasons ago. 12 made shots is tied for his Pacers high as well. Did it with a double-double. He was, I predicted yesterday, going to start even if everybody else was playing and just Siakam was out. And this is the kind of game where he can help. The Wolves don't play that fast. They could have used the juice. That was just something else. He is now twice this season, for all the ups and downs Obi Toppin has had, right? Really good in December, filled in as the third center at time, the backup center at times this year, and has kind of waned with some bad games where his defense isn't there. He played 5 minutes in a game last week, right? This was as good as he can be. With the he made 5 twos, he got to the foul line, he got rebounds, he was pushing in transition. And he, of course, going 7 for 10 from 3 obviously helps you look really good. But he was just phenomenal. And the Wolves could not stop him when it mattered. And among many things that went well for the Zombie Pacers, the 4 for 4 with 12 points overtime period for Toppin was exceptional. And in the second half of the game, he had 9 points and 5 boards, which means he was very good opening the game too. 13 first half points, 5 rebounds, plus 9 in that half. Right? The starting group was pretty good. The same group that has stunk off the bench of late for the Pacers. I talked about adjustments the Pacers can make rotational yesterday. Obviously, they couldn't do any of that in this game with the players available, but I was wrong. The answer to solve the Pacers bench problem was just start all of them. Perfect. There we go. It worked in this one. Toppin was awesome. So many other individuals and moments from this game to get to. What a win for the Pacers. We'll get to all that, including TJ McConnell's late heroics. And Tony Bradley was terrific. So much more to talk about today. Before we do any of that, 2 awesome groups of people to talk about. First up, Hungryroot. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, many have this ongoing problem. Just don't have the time between work life and trying to eat healthier. There's this constant stressed feeling when you go to the grocery store, you buy things you don't need, then you end up with no time to actually cook, or you stick to your health goals nobody really has. It's a struggle. But everything changed when Hungryroot enters the picture. It's a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without the stress. It's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of grocery shopping. They recommend meals and groceries based on your taste and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. The best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. Quick, healthy meals that taste great, all delivered straight to your door. A huge time saver that has made healthy eating simpler for many. You're going to love Hungryroot as much as most do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. How about that? Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA with the code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. Hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. We got to talk about Monarch Money too. Ever check your bank account? Wonder, where my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. Monarch Money can come in and be your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. Complete financial command center where you can track your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and instead start building wealth. When many use Monarch Money, they can realize how much they're spending on things like food delivery. They're overspending there or in any other areas. Now they can budget smarter and save more instead of juggling multiple apps. So use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partners smoother than ever. Track shared accounts and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LockedOnNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50%. How about that? Off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LockedOnNBA for half off your first year. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making the show our first listen today and every single day. Locked On Wolves, your second listen. They were on an 8-game win streak and playing quite well. What happened to Minnesota in this game? They were not making threes in the first half. Rudy Gobert got ejected, but still, they probably feel like they should have won against this version of the Pacers. Remember this game next time the Pacers lose an inexplicable game. It does, in fact, happen to other teams. It does happen. It can be challenging. Like I've talked to people in and around the league about this. Like it marches goofy in the NBA, and it is harder to actually game plan for games where it's just like you throw out the tendencies in the scouting report, right? And that's what this is, especially the Wolves who played the night before against Utah. They don't know who's playing for the Pacers, and then, okay, what's the scouting report? Who's this guy? Like, it's just hard. And I'm not saying that to excuse their performance. The Pacers deserve a lot of credit, but keep that in mind because the Pacers have been deservedly, I would say, many times blasted for their own poor losses in these scenarios. Okay, TJ McConnell, huge clutch shot, one of his 5 makes, 13 assists. I don't think he played sensational. He missed 7 shots, and some of them ones he could normally make. I thought he was getting too much criticism, though, for the way he was playing in this game, especially once Nembhard and Mathurin are out. He's the only guy left who could like dribble. Guys who can like handle the ball, certainly, but He was really the best at setting up anything and getting towards the rim. Quentin Jackson handled the ball okay and created his own shots. He finished plays. He was 4 for 6. He had 0 assists, right? McConnell had 13 of the Pacers' 28 assists, nearly half, right? He was very important as a shot creator in this game, and I thought that was major for the Pacers. A lot of that coming late too, right? 5 assists in the second half and 3 in overtime. He was quite good in that way. And again, deservedly in some cases. A lot of people have been critical of his play. He did airball layup in this game. He also hit the shot that sent it to overtime. A tough layup with 5 seconds to go to tie it up, getting into the lane, getting that speed, getting a little bit of separation, getting all the way to the rim for a 1-footer. When I talked about his struggles in like January, I talked about one of the stats that stood out is he's not getting quite as close to the rim. He got all the way there, created just enough separation to get it to go. He played, I thought, much better than people gave him credit for. One, because he was tasked with so much in this game and was able to take on most of it. But two, they needed anyone who could create good shots. Nembhard was doing a pretty good job, especially for himself. Same with Mathurin. Once they were out of there, it was kind of just him, right? Jarris kind of canned for himself and did so a few times late. And some other guys were able to get open at times. Ben Shepherd had a very nice passing game, and he was moving with the ball, handling it. But nobody to the extent McConnell was. And so not only to do that, but to come up clutch to tie the game late, another moment where it felt like it was over. The whole game, really. The Pacers were up 3. Yes, up 3 in the final minute. It felt like they might win at that point. One of the rare times it felt like they had it. And then Jarris Walker, unfortunately, with a vomit all over yourself 8 seconds that he will want to forget. A very bad pass with 38 seconds to go. Not even one of the ones that I give him credit for where he makes a good read and just throws a bad pass. Like, it wasn't even that great of a read. There was a lot of traffic. Then he fouled Ant on the other end. The Pacers fell behind until McConnell hit that shot. Huge rebound for the Pacers, by the way, after they missed their first shot of that possession. Then it went out of bounds and ends up going their way. So I thought TJ McConnell was quite good. And oh boy, I can't believe this. I'm actually a little bummed that he's not like the lead for a segment. I don't get to throw his name in the title or anything. 10-day contract, has only played more than like the smallest amount of garbage time once, and it's because the Pacers were embarrassed in Chicago. Today, Tony Bradley thrown into the rotation. They need him to be the backup 5 behind Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant, some turnover issues early. Not the greatest defending game. Tony Bradley was awesome in this game. He had a few moments where the ball went through his hands that he'll be kicking himself for, because he did just about everything else exactly how they needed him to in this game. Very good Tony Bradley performance. 6 for 8 from the field on his way to 12 points. He had not scored in double figures in the NBA since 2022, forever ago, right? And he only scored 11. This was his highest scoring game since 2020-21 when he played for, I don't remember who. I think OKC, right? This was forever ago for him. He has not had 9 rebounds in a game since 2021-22. He had 8 in that game. He had 11 points in 2022. He had 9 at a time before that. Today, Tony Bradley, last night, I guess, when this comes out, 9 rebounds, 5 of them on the offensive end. The Wolves are a decent rebounding team. They have size. Tony Bradley fighting in there, getting huge boards. 2 assists. He was actually doing very well, I thought, attacking the zone when he had to roll or come from the top down. And zone played a huge factor in this game. Not a lot of shooting for the Pacers at all, given who was available. And the Wolves weren't making anything. They were 13 for 42 from deep. Both teams utilized zone. I thought Tony Bradley would get swallowed up by it. He did a very good job of screening, rolling into space, and actually making some decent passes from the middle. He had a steal and 2 blocks. So, yes, the turnovers where the ball went through his hands, tough. But to see Tony Bradley, a guy that the Pacers probably never thought they'd rely on. They need depth at center for games like this, for when Myles Turner's out or Thomas Bryant's out. In this game, it was Turner and Siakam. So their front court is totally out of whack. They needed Tony Bradley for 20 minutes, and he delivered. Finished plays, powerful dunks, blocks, rebounding was huge. Extra possessions were massive for the Pacers in this one, because if you looked at the scoreboard, oh, look, both teams took 97 shots. That's cool. The Wolves took 13 more free throws and deserved them, to be clear. Ant was drawing a lot of contact. So the Pacers had to find a way to keep up. right? They lost the turnover battle by 6. The offensive rebounds were a huge way for them to get at least enough chances to stick in it, and Tony Bradley was a huge part of that. Who had Tony Bradley, TJ McConnell as the second unit link up? That would win the Pacers a game. But in a game like this, where you win by 2 points in overtime, literally everyone who played and wasn't just a total disaster was a part of the reason you won. And I will argue in the beginning parts of the next segment that was everyone who played. A total team win for these depth guys that we will talk about to close out Locked On Pacers today, including good stuff from Jarris Walker, Quentin Jackson, and the Enrique Freeman stretch that will live in lore. Before we do that, we need to talk about Prizepicks. Basketball season's heating up. There's no better way to get in on the action than with Prizepicks. It's the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prizepicks, you just pick more than or less than on at least two players to have projections for a shot to up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use, available in over 30 states, and lets you mix and match projections across different sports. This week, for example, you can select Luka Doncic for more or less than 25 points, Jason Tatum for more or less than 8 rebounds. Prizepicks makes it simple. Set your lineup in less than 60 seconds and stay engaged all game long. When you win, your money hits your account in as little as 15 minutes. No waiting around. And every Tuesday, they even have discounts on select player projections, up to 25%, giving you a chance to get even more value in your lineup. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after playing your first $5 lineup on Prizepicks. That's on Prizepicks. Run your game.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Our Locked On East Squad show comes out tonight. I was on this one. I was able to attend, and we talked a lot about tanking, and it was awesome. I highly recommend you listen to it because I hate tanking, and I went in on the NBA structure and my own idea to fix it. It'll come out later on Tuesday, but also your second listen, any show. Locked On Pels, Trey Murphy's out for the season. Locked On Mavs, the Pacers' next opponent. Who's even alive on the Mavericks? Lots of good places to go. A lot of stuff going on in the NBA for it being mid-March. What a game for the Pacers. I already ran through what I think were the standout performers, at least compared to what I would have as my expectations. Like a TJ McConnell 13 assist game is crazy. Toppin went nuts. McConnell hit the clutch shot. Tony Bradley was sensational. Again, when you win by 2 in overtime, anyone who played and didn't just totally suck was important to the win. Jarris Walker, for example, 13 points, 5 boards, an assist, 2 steals. They won his minutes by 2. As usual, a problem for him, some head-scratching turnovers. He did not play a perfect game. He did not defend Julius Randle very well in that matchup. However, I thought his foot speed and general ability to be a deterrent was good when he was guarding Ant. I thought he did well guarding Ant, as well as anyone on the Pacers did, and executed the doubles well when they were trying to get him off the ball, which worked okay. Ant was still amazing. Took him a while to get going, but really, really good stuff from Jarris in that specifically. He had a big shot late in the fourth quarter as well, just before his dreadful stretch in the final minute. So up and down for him as expected, but 35 minutes and gave the Pacers 3 threes and some needed ball pressure on defense, even though it was not a perfect defensive game. Thomas Bryant did not have a great night. Deservedly, people were tweeting at me, they should play Tony Bradley over him in overtime. 4 turnovers, didn't make any of his first 6 threes, but did have 7 boards and hit his only made 3 was huge. Clutch as it gets in overtime. They actually won his minutes by 3. And I thought his defense was maybe as good as it's been all season at times, especially against Minnesota, who does play a lot of post stuff with Gobert, with Randall. Naz Reid really tore up every Pacers big, especially Bryant. But when Thomas Bryant was out there without Naz Reid, I thought he actually defended okay. One of his better moments on that end of the floor. I already talked about Mathurin, but his scoring in particular was huge after Nembhard got ejected, and he had, I think, 9 points in a row right after that. I said, yes, my notes say Mathurin's going to be key after ejections. And then there was a really cool Obi Toppin, Thomas Bryant, DHO. And then, boom, 9 straight Mathurin points. Like, that was huge. And he was really breaking up that Wolves zone that I thought, oh, that could really crush the Pacers. So even though you'll see this game and see 22 points on 17 shots, which is good efficiency still from Mathurin, he missed 11 twos. Excuse me. That's terrible math. He missed 7 twos. That stretch was huge, keeping the Pacers in it. Nembhard was good running the show. When he was out there, he had 12 points and 3 assists and defended pretty well. Ben Shepherd defended very well in this game. And this is a game where guys like him who don't make mistakes very often are very important. No turnovers mattered a lot. Made half his 3, 6 assists. He was really moving. He had 1 assist where he ran the floor in transition after a stop, was headed strong for the rim. And because he went so fast, he beat his defender on the floor. TJ McConnell got him the ball. Another defender has to slide over to stop his layup, and he flipped it out for a 3. I think that was the Thomas Bryant 3. Like that's what Ben Shepherd does. He runs hard and it creates stuff for everybody else. Enrique Freeman, slow clap. So to describe this scene, Andrew Nembhard gets ejected. The sequence was what it was. He got Mike Conley on the jaw. It was a basketball move that just happened to get him. Rudy Gobert hated it, and Rudy Gobert socks him with his arm. Flagrant for sure for Gobert. Becomes a flagrant too because there was intent behind it. He gets ejected. Nembhard reacts as he should and throws the ball at Gobert. Let me rephrase that. What I mean by how he should is that everyone would react to that by retaliating. Now, he's going to get ejected for retaliating. As soon as you throw a ball at somebody, you're getting attacked. That's bad for the Pacers, right? Had he been level-headed right there, it would have been good for the Pacers, the basketball team. I think Gobert and Nembhard getting ejected in a vacuum, advantage Pacers. In this game, without Haliburton or Siakam, advantage Timberwolves there. So that's not good that he reacted that way, but I would have reacted that way. So regardless, he gets ejected. Once you're ejected, you can't do anything. You can't shoot free throws or stay in the game. But because Gobert got a flagrant 2, the Pacers have to have somebody shoot the free throws, and Nembhard got fouled. So the Wolves get to pick the shooter. They pick Enrique Freeman. Enrique Freeman comes in calmly, hits them both, goes down on the defensive end, battles for his 1 defensive possession, and he was out for the night. I think the Wolves actually scored. Regardless, 2-point win, 2 free throws from a guy who wasn't even expected to play. That was huge. Those were huge free throws. So his contribution is definitely a little smaller, but he actually played a defensive possession. There was some trouble the Pacers had figuring out who should be on the floor. They had 6 guys for a second. The NBA hasn't logged it right. So he actually played like 10 seconds or something, even though the box score says 0. And then Quentin Jackson also looked like he might not play in this game. The way the rotation was shaking out. He plays 10 minutes in the second half of this one, and I believe a little bit of overtime. Yeah, all 5 minutes of overtime. So of his 18 and whatever minutes, almost all of them came after halftime because with Nembhard and Mathurin and McConnell, they need a 4th guard to play a little, but not very much. He did it again, right? What he does, he adds tempo to these games, and Minnesota's not particularly fast. They're not like grind it out slow, but not particularly fast. Quentin Jackson comes in there with his on-ball juice, gets to the basket, 5 2-point shots. He made 3 of them, drew 4 free throws, made all of them. Right? He was not setting anyone else up, and he had 5 fouls, right? He certainly had an imperfect game. But I tweeted this during the game, like a 2-way contract player who comes in, defends hard, and like actually has a speed level that no one else in the NBA or very few guys can actually match. Like he still adds value to games to me all the time, even though he probably belongs on a 2-way, right? But I don't know. I always end up walking away from being like, oh, it's very obvious how Quentin Jackson helped. And when he goes 4 for 6, it's certainly very obvious. And he played all the overtime. Really nice game from Quentin Jackson. Minnesota 24th in pace, right? Quentin Jackson comes in there, boom, ups that tempo, makes it comfortable for the Pacers. So everybody who played for this zombie Pacers team made it happen. The situation did not suggest the Pacers win was coming. Every year a team gets one like this. Last year it was in Sacramento, right? At the time, and even through the end of the season, many considered that Jarris Walker's first best game, right? He was okay in Phoenix. He was very good against the Clippers. And that Kings game, he was great. The year before that, the Nembhard game, right, in Golden State. And the year before that Kiefer Sykes game in Golden State, right? It just happens sometimes where you just get the spirited effort of collective will and energy from a very shorthanded team. And this was it for the Pacers this year. I think in those kind of games, the start matters so much, right? If you get out of the first quarter of this game down 10 already, like everybody's going to hang their head and give up. The third quarter was 41 points for the Wolves to 29 for the Pacers. If that was the first quarter, Pacers probably lose. But the Pacers did well in the first quarter. They were tied, and they were awesome in the second quarter. They were at 14 at halftime. And so they were able to weather a storm of Minnesota, who I think was up 8 or 9 early in the fourth. And they were really up 8 after a 10-0 run. Like a lot of hard hits that would, again, crush you normally in a situation like this where you have no one available. It's 3rd and 4 nights. The talent advantage is there. But the Pacers started very well, scoring 30 points in the first quarter. Their rim pressure was awesome. Awesome early in the game. Tony Bradley made 4 shots in that period. Nembhard got to the cup. Thomas Bryant finished twice around the rim. Obi Toppin made 2 twos. Their defense was okay, but they were defending well at the rim. And then they have a second quarter where they kept defending well at the rim, and Minnesota struggled from deep, and the Pacers hit some threes. That start is what got them, I think, the mental part of what they needed to win. And then they played well enough the rest of the way. So impressive from this Pacers group, and an absolutely huge win in the standings race. The Pistons also won on Monday. Here goes. Bucks are on that road trip. They're tied with 16 games to go. Pacers have to be 1 game better in that last 15, 16. I can't do math. Regardless, 11 of the next 15 at home for the Pacers. They win the alternate reality NBA Finals, both teams that lost in the conference finals last year. Huge win. Easy schedule at home this week. They've got to clean up. As we just saw, anything can happen, even against teams with a talent disadvantage in the NBA. Huge win. They get it done. They play the Dallas Mavericks on Wednesday. We'll be talking about that come Wednesday. Tomorrow we should have a guest. I've done no prep or planning for that, who it will be or what we're going to talk about. So we'll see what ends up coming to a head there. And then 2 post-game shows after that to close out this week. What a crazy game for the Pacers. What a win. You got to find a way to watch some of these shots if you haven't seen them yet. Back tomorrow talking more Pacers, their bench recovery, that game. If Derek Kramer was still around, we could throw that one into the pantheon of fun regular season Pacers games. Till then, everybody, you can find me on Twitter at Tony R. East and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. I'm on Blue Sky at Tony R. East as well. Have a wonderful day. We'll catch you very soon.